Here is our presentation PDF for our assignment. Here are the contents for Project 1. Our overall design statement is, the goal is to find a safer way of escape for refugees fleeing Syria and to get the average middle-class Canadians to care about their struggle. When we were researching the crisis, we found out that over half the refugees who fled didn't survive the journey to their destination, usually drowning or disappearing at sea. This way of death is tragic, as many children were also victims of this. We wanted to address this issue to the Canadian public and to make them care about this issue. Make them look at refugees not as foreigners, but as people just like them who need their help. The theme of this project will be to build empathy that the crisis can be resolved sooner and with far less casualties. The overlying theme of this installation is the journeys that people take. Our how might we question is, how might we inform the public of the dangers refugees face in their travels and convince them that their help in the crisis is needed? Here we have our primary research of the middle class and Syrian refugees, from their ideas to what they say and do, think and feel, and hear and see. The goals of our project is to shed light on the dangers that refugees face, not only in their homeland, but mostly on their journey to a new country as well. With reports of deaths and drowning, people should know how bad the situation is. We are trying to achieve a connection between the journey of the refugees and the people who already live in first world countries. Through thoughts and feelings, we want to bring to those who read this assignment empathy, pain, fear, resilience, and hope. We can bring some people to action by inspiring them through pathos. Good qualities are the qualities we want to convey. We want to inspire through positivity and convince people that their help is appreciated. Our short-term marketing goals are for people to be more involved in helping the refugee crisis and hopefully stripping it of its crisis status. Long-term marketing goals, on the other hand, are to inspire people to care about the refugees from different places in different times in the future. Also, to build a passion with them to help save this crazy world. Opportunities for growth are more organizations or special interest groups who will work to help the situation become resolved. Our target audience is the middle-class Canadian, whether it be through TV, newspaper, internet. Local events generally cause buzz, and people are more passionate about issues when they occur on their doorstep, as opposed to just on a screen. Movies, music, and pop culture also play a role in trying to incite the audience into experiencing their product. Corporations and politicians always fight for the attention of the middle class, either to help them or to increase their power. A change we found in the customer is that a lot of them use more technology than they did 5 years ago. This is due to the plethora of devices that have been upgraded and released in such a short time. A question the customer will usually ask is, what does this have to do with me? Or why should I care? We want to address these questions consumers have in order to bring out more empathy and interest to this topic. The sort of tone and perception that we want to convey is understanding, empathy, and kindness. We must respect other people's opinions and not preach our message to closed ears. The important thing to remember when trying to convince an audience is not to try and change their beliefs, but instead open their eyes to other ideals and thoughts of reasoning. Adjectives that describe our approach are kindness, empathy, understanding, open-mindedness, and education. The flow of information will affect the mood and style as well through its narrative revolving around the main content, both in design and words, as both the narrative and the content are well entwined. This will help reinforce the empathy that is established from the content. The interaction helps add to this by allowing users to understand greater about the events that are happening in this part of the world, and creating an ability and or desire to help the refugees with their difficulties, knowing the dangers that they face. Finally, the user's behavior, whether they take in a feeling of empathy for an installation or not, they gain knowledge on the subject and can inform others about it, spreading the message the installation aims to achieve. This is our Phase 1 of Project 2. For our brand book, these are examples of our Walk a Mile pathways, which are generally an integral part of our exhibit. From the start of the exhibit, there are several pathways, each one made of a different color. Each of these colors represents a different individual, a different story behind it. Users will choose one of these colors and move along the space following the pathway that they're taking. As they're going along the space, there are certain card stations strategically placed at various parts of the space, which contain cards containing information about the life they chose, the story they chose, the individual that they chose, and allow them to proceed for the stories, not just from the stories based on the ground, but also from the cards. This sort of gives them more of an intuition, more through the looking glass to see exactly what people face in these times.
This is our graphics section. These are basically the kind of art installations we want to include in our exhibit. Basically, we have sort of PSA posters that kind of ask the audience questions, and we have a hashtag that exists on the bottom of each poster that says, "What if it was you?" And this hashtag connects to our social media campaign that will help educate more middle class Canadians to the situation that the refugees face. We also included designs that kind of invoke terrains, like ground terrains, grass, water, and urban sort of areas. And the reason why we decided to do this is to showcase the different terrains that refugees take during their journeys. This is phase two. This is our art installations. Basically, these are just what we think that the project will look like once put into the exhibition space. But as we can see, we have our videos queued to certain areas and paths that lead to certain TVs that the audience can interact with. And this is more of the same, where it's just the paths that the users can take, and as well as the posters that exist along with the interactive elements of the project. This is phase three.
So here is a functioning prototype of our interactive installation for the museum piece. As you can see here, it is a map of the Mediterranean, and it acts based on our theme for our piece for the museum, which is the journeys that refugees take. As you can see here, we have several small red paths, which have been shown to be refugee paths they've taken from Syria all the way to Europe and various parts of the world. Over here, we have these points of interest. While on this prototype, these points of interest have to be clicked, for the fully functioning model, using Connect, the user can actually select these points of interest by gesturing at them with their hands. So when one of them is selected, you can see, you get a zoom in function is activated, in which the user is brought into the information regarding the point of interest that they clicked. For as an example here, we have in the Mediterranean, there's Rescue in the Mediterranean from 2017, which depicts and explains a brief event that happened in the Mediterranean Sea at that time. So here you have the general information of that event, and here is a link to the article or website in which that was brought from, in order if users would like to get more information. So you go back, and you have the ability to take all these other points of interest and look at their information, from refugee life in Scaramagus to EU pursues people smugglers to refugee life in Egypt. It provides users with a nice variety of stories and articles and facts about what happens to refugees from their journeys from point A to point B. Uh, Thank you for listening and enjoy.